Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me a very new in this lifetime, but many lifetimes prior, old soul sister, Staci Weller, who, among other things, is a new earth, bringing in new earth feminism. She comes from a Tibetan and Vedic lineage. And she's been a relationship coach, and what she's really being called to do is help us step into that new feminine energy with all of her knowledge and wisdom that she's bringing forth. And we're recording this on the full moon, powerful, crazy ass full moon today. So whatever comes through is going to be really powerful. So thank you, sister, for joining me on this call and having this amazing conversation that we're about to have.
Thank you, sister, for that beautiful, exquisite introduction. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and so pleased that we met.
Me too. I mean, I love how the universe orchestrates this. It's just divine. It's a divine.
It's awesome.
It is. And we were talking before I realized I needed to press record of that. So I had a recent encounter with one that I had a long relationship with, and I saw the dynamics and I saw the shift in my frequency, and I saw that because I had more boundaries, because I was in a different state, he was even more attracted to me than he was before. And it's because I'm stepping into my divine feminine energy. And then I realized I needed to press the record button because we were just going deep.
Yeah, I see that pattern as a relationship coach. I've seen that pattern for 20 some odd years. And often what we see is like an empath and a narcissist. So often the masculine is the narcissist and the feminine is the empath. It's kind of like, what do we need to do to get your attention kind of thing. And I also encourage people to look, to kind of step out of the whole man woman thing. It's kind of like, it's like our masculine and our feminine. Are we developing our masculine, or we're developing our feminine? And if we take that to a micro, or that's a micro level in our relationships, but if we take it to a macro level, I suggest, or we suggest, a new feminist movement is that the divine feminine, number one, has not actually been able to show up on planet Earth. And we have been deeply programmed and conditioned to feel that we're the inferior sex or the inferior gender. And we have been ghosted, benched, and gaslighted by governments, religious systems, and systems that have been based in immature masculine. And I like to actually call it bully consciousness, because I think that the men are our best allies, conscious, divine men. And I'm going to use bully consciousness from now on, because that exists within all of us as well. Is the part of us that beats ourselves up and is afraid to step into our greatness, is afraid to step into being limitless, because the immature bully consciousness is never going to show us who we really are. Like, we actually, women and the feminine, need to take control of the narrative and not just give it to old systems that are obsolete. And now is the time to literally just step out of that and step away from it so it can implode naturally.
Yeah, I love that, because like I actually felt that the other day. I was like, wow, this is really interesting to see, because I'm just being me. Like, an example was I was walking barefoot on the beach, because barefoot on the beach, like I'm so big into grounding. I'm like, I can't imagine wearing shoes on a beach anymore. So, and everybody else on the beach was wearing shoes. And a couple times he's like, put your shoes on. I'm like, I don't need to put my shoes on. My feet are happy. Like, of course they're happy because I'm grounding. And it was this like, she's out of my comfort zone, so I'm going to project this onto her, because I see how, even if he's not conscious of it, he could feel how divinely I was connecting with Mama Gaia, because I do. That's one of my gifts, is I just adore Mama Gaia. And when I connect like that, I change frequencies very quickly. And so I'm not doing anything radical. right? Walking barefoot on a beach is not a radical act. But the fact that I chose to, and I chose to listen to my heart instead of my head, that's the radical part.
Yeah, it's like radical divine feminine. You're stepping into your radical divine feminine. I think that's a really great analogy, Sophia, because it's like the feminine, the divine feminine, she's wild. She's like pure life force energy, sexual energy. She is the creative life force. She's the inner artist, the creatrix, the creatrix, our softer side, right? So men could be like, yeah, I get that, right? Like that's in me, of course, right? And we're going to run wild on the beach barefoot, maybe naked. And the masculine can't give, they can't dictate what we do.
Yeah.
Control, abuse, manipulation is deleted on planet Earth. We can access a new level of consciousness that our wonderful, amazing foremothers, feminists, literally have placed the ball on like the 1-inch yard line for teen feminism to just drive it over. And actually, really, we actually need our divine masculine energy to organize and to, so we can all like access that feminine that wants to walk barefoot or naked on the beach. Like that's in everyone. Like who the hell says we can't do that?
Right. And it's such a simple act, and yet it's so radical.
Yeah. It's radical. It's radical to like be ourselves, like literally like be our authentic selves. The unbalanced masculine is very austere. Look at religion. Religion's a perfect example. Yeah. It's very austere. It's very like external male God must give you approval, whether you're worthy or not. They can control your body and whether you can be a priestess or XYZ. And that's just an illusion, right? So like I kind of think of it as this way. I sometimes just kind of ask for impressions from the universe or my higher self. And it's kind of like that story where the elephant's as a baby is tied to a post and it's got like a chain on its leg. This is like the divine feminine. Yeah. And she can't move. She can't, she can only go within a certain range, right? She grows up, she's like in a zoo or whatever, right? Or, but the zoo has kind of like a very light fence around it. And after a while, they remove the post, they remove the chain, and she still thinks that she has to stay within that small area or that fenced area. But in reality, she's strong, she's powerful. She is the remover of obstacles. She is the goddess. And she can literally bust out of that old consciousness like that.
Right.
And that's who we are.
And it's bringing that awareness into, oh, this is a pattern I used to have that no longer serves me.
Yeah.
I love doing that. Like I see a behavior in myself and I'm like, that doesn't feel right anymore. And I'll just tune into my body. I don't go into the story because that's just a maze of unnecessary things, but I'll feel it in my body. When I release the energy, I don't have that pattern anymore.
That is such a powerful technique, Sophia. I love it because, that's another masculine construct. Like we have to have 20 years of therapy talking about our traumas and our parents and our exes and all, we can go on forever, right? Right. Versus feel it to heal it and then let it go, that energy. And feminism, we've got a lot of anger and we have a right. It's sacred anger. It's like, but we can actually use, it's like energy. So my teacher is an enlightened woman. So my lineage is, they're masters. So that's been another reason why I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, right? But it's like, why not? Why not? Who else is going to do it, right? Like, who else is going to do your purpose, But it's kind of like, that's bullshit. Like that construct of me being not good enough because I'm not an enlightened person, like who says I have to be to actually speak these things, really having conversations about the divine feminine, like who is she? We get, we get to decide. This is our generation that gets to decide. And what you've talked about, this is Dzogchen. This is Tibetan from my lineage, from the Nyingma lineage. And it's like, it's called Dzogchen, but it's like self-observation. So you're the character in the movie, your movie that you create for yourself by your higher self. And you're like, hey, whoa, like that actually doesn't serve me, that belief, whatever it may be. Often women, feminists have ideas about men that are very destructive, versus like they're our best. We're designed to support each other, like we're like any other species. That's,
Yeah.
So, and it's like, hey, I'm going to step out of that. Like that's actually not even true, right?
Right.
And then it's like, just breathe it out, find a way to get it out. It's an energy. It's energy.
Yep.
And then if we deal with all that, we can actually operate from our highest self and create the game. So I see divine feminism. I call it radical divine feminism. We create the game. It's not fucking dictated to us.
Right.
So
right. And I'll bring it up because it just came through. So I remember when the mandates came out in 2020. My definition of a mandate is a guy who takes somebody on a date, does everything he wants to the exclusion of anyone else's happiness. And that's a mandate.
yeah.
And that's what it was. I was like, that's not even a law. That's a bully tactic. And I felt it. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't feel right. Like my soul is saying, don't do certain things. And I'm listening to my soul. And that's why I ended up going down to Shasta, was because I was living in Portland and the energy got too heavy for me to be in Portland anymore. So I went down and spent 3 years in the root chakra.
Wow. Yeah. And that's key. That's really, I think the essence of divine feminism is deeply, deeply, deeply connect to Mother Earth. Like we're like a diamond. We're different facets of Mother Earth. And we will be recognized as such. It's time for us, starting with us. Like, this is really good that you're bringing up this, your experience, because it's like, it's an inside out revolution, or Shakti revolution. It's not like we can't get it from some law, I mean, I can talk about that. And I do want to talk about that. Because there's the Equal Rights Amendment is really important piece. I would love to just share with your viewers.
Sure.
Or your listeners, I should say. But it's like, it's like we're part of Mother Earth. Like, are you going to negotiate with her? No, you have to align with her and realize you are her. We're her children. We live on her. We are her. We're not, it's not like rounding into her. It's like you are her. I am that. I am that.
Yeah. And she is a living entity.
Yes. And she hasn't been treated like that. She's been treated as an object, just like women have.
I know.
Right?
No.
To exploit and rape.
I know. And I feel that. I was living in Monmouth, Oregon for a bit, and there's forestry there. There's forest harvesting there. And I tuned into one of the pieces of land that had been forested for 150 years. The trauma that land felt.
Yes.
I was crying. I was just feeling it. I wasn't taking it on, but I was just feeling it. And the heartbreak is that she got raped, that this piece of land got raped for 150 years.
Yes.
I have never been given that opportunity in this lifetime to experience rape. So I don't have that personal relationship, but I felt it from her in me. And I felt so much deep compassion, because this being that we dwell with is so integral to our beingness. And when we start revering it, when we talk to the animals, when we talk to the trees, when we talk to the ocean and the land and everything, like it already is alive. We're the ones who are becoming alive with it.
Yes. She's our mother. So how could you not feel what she feels? Like you're not, so it's like non-dualism, like you are her. Of course you're going to feel that.
Right.
And actually we've done that to the feminine. We've literally, raped the feminine. And I think the most pervasive, most challenging and 100% under our control way that we subjugate the feminine is in our own hearts and our own minds. And we can literally like step out of that.
Yeah.
Sophia, can I tell your listeners about the Equal Rights Amendment?
Please.
Okay, cool. So Sophia, and this is a masculine, it's a construct from our government. The U.S. Constitution is the mother document, if you will. We talk about Mother Earth, and I suggest, and what happened is, the Equal Rights Amendment is the notion, and this is feminism, is the notion that the feminine and the masculine are equal, or men and women deserve the same opportunities. Up until now, women have not had full rights under the Constitution, which is why we've been abused, raped, etc. for 250 some odd years, right? As long as we have this country. And this is a great way to look at sort of like programming in general, just looking at the feminist movement, right?
Right.
On like you're looking at it on a micro level, I'm looking at a macro level. So to change the Constitution, which is everything that the feminists before us have done, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Stanton, Gloria Steinem, Shirley Chisholm, all of those amazing leaders have been working towards one thing, that is constitutional rights under the US Constitution, equal rights under the Constitution. That was ratified in January of 2020, and that takes 38 states, and it has to go through both houses of Congress, which it did in 1972. So Sophia, one of the most, the easiest ways to subjugate the feminine is to pretend that she doesn't exist. And religion and government and often politics have pretended like we don't exist. What happened is our representatives that we vote for have refused to publish the ratified. So they actually have to take an administrative step to publish the amendment. It's now in the House of Representatives, awaiting for them to say this is law. That's it. It's sitting in the House. It's gone to the Senate. Last year, 47 GOP senators voted against publishing the Equal Rights Amendment. The challenge is nobody knows about it. Like red states, a lot of the women in red states, they know about it because they're continuing to fight for it. Okay, so my shifting that narrative is like, which up until now it's like, oh please government, give us our rights, give us equal rights. It's like, no. Most of our people in the United States of America in 2024 feel that women, masculine and feminine, are equal. We're freaking taking equality. We're taking the ERA. It's already ours. It's just that we don't know about it. So we're talking about, and that's the divine masculine. That's actually consciousness, awareness, like being aware, being aware that everyone is equal. Equality and freedom equals happiness and joy and partnership between masculine and feminine. So I suggest that equality isn't political. It's not religious. Yet the conversation around the feminine has been limited to those systems, which are now going down. They're going down, they're going down fast.
It's amazing.
Instead, I'm almost finished. Instead, I suggest that it's just basic common sense. Equality is basic common sense. And if anything, it's more that it's spiritual. It's like we already are equal. It's our birthright. So one thing we can do if we're going to work as a team, which would be a good idea right now, and divine feminism, our number one goal in 3D in the physical world is to just take ERA, publish ERA. The way we do that is we raise awareness because our government has not acted on behalf of the feminine unless they are forced to do so. And the reason they're not forced to do so is we don't know. We don't have that feminine voice. So that's why, your podcast and a lot of these independent media is so important because we need we have a voice. Network TV and big media. This is a kill story. The ERA is a kill story. So we have a ratified amendment. So once we, I think, learn about it, like people actually know about it, we actually publish it, we would stand as moving towards a true democracy and be a model for equality, gender equality worldwide. And that would also mean that every US citizen would be equal from a gender standpoint. That's powerful. That's actually us standing for, liberty, one nation, under
Oh,
God,
yeah.
goddess with liberty and justice for all, not just white rich men.
Right.
So anyway, I just wanted to tell.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I actually, you're
important.
reminding me that I have a sister who's working at a Fortune 500 company. I'll just leave it at that. And she just took family leave.
Yes.
Because of the harassment from the old energy.
Yes.
And I said to her, you know, back in 1998, I was receiving harassment. But in 2024, it's a different kind, because I had my ass pinched by a coworker and I complained and I said they told me I didn't have a sense of humor. I'm like, actually, I'm really funny.
Sophia, it happens every day.
And it's like, and I'm thinking like 2024, like,
yes,
it's like my grandfather died in 1979 for brain cancer. They gave him chemo then. We still have chemo. Like, what? How is that still a thing? It's the same thing. It's like, why hasn't stuff shifted? Because it doesn't make sense.
I think there's a really good, it's the same thing. It's kind of like the government. If you go to HR and you say, hey, you know, like what happened to me, my sales manager is in sales, he pinched my ass. We went out, had drinks. It was a company party. He pinched my ass, and he also pinched the ass of pretty much every other female associate on our team.
Wow.
Okay. So the vice president of sales, who was a woman, had a conversation with them the next day. So this is in the 90s.
Okay.
But you know, kept his job. Okay. So, but the thing is if I did go to HR, like in the sales, this was well known because he's like walking around, he's drunk, he's pitching everyone's ass. And if I did go to HR about that, they're not protecting me, they're protecting themselves. So I had another situation where, you know, I was basically being sexually harassed, and so was everybody else in the entire company, because it happened at a conference with 600 people there.
Oh, wow.
Basically, they chose a very inappropriate video of women beating each other up in a mud wrestling ring. And I went to HR and I'm like, hey, you know, the CEO really chose the wrong kind of, you know, video for that. And there was also a couple other, you know, groping situations at the same conference. And I just brought that up, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, a few weeks later, I was made redundant. So this happens every day. Sophia, you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself, right? So when I talk to women that work for themselves, they don't have to deal with that because they're the boss, right?
Right.
Yeah, it happens every single day. You know, Me Too movement, you know, it's like we're talking about it. We're talking about this stuff. It's always existed. It's always been there, but now we're talking about it, you know?
Right.
But the big thing is we don't have to get the masculine approval to change the narrative. We're just changing the narrative. Like we need to deal with our trauma for sure. Like,
oh yeah,
say, that's not real. Like find a way to get that out of your body, because that's not who you are.
Right.
And what happens to us is not who we are. God, I've been assaulted and, you know, harassed and raped.
Wow.
So, and I had to like let go of that. And I grew up as a Mormon. That's the other thing, Sophia. So like, wow. I had to, you know, and it's like, that's all just an illusion. That's what we would call it. It's an illusion based on limited levels of consciousness.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's true. If we can get into our soul and our heart, like we know that.
Right.
So, and I think the other thing I wanted to speak to around that is when that happens to us as a woman, we get groped at the office or, you know, whatever it may be. Taylor Swift said this, it's really good. I think this is really great. She says that women are conditioned to absorb inappropriate male behavior. And if we actually say something about it, then we're the problem. Then we're the ones that are at fault. We're actually the perpetrator. So that's kind of what happens when we go to HR about these things.
It's crazy.
And I kind of looked at that a little bit further, and I believe that every time that happens to us, like we absorb that. It's like, okay, you know, I'm not going to say anything because it's just going to have to deal with all kinds of bullshit, right?
Right.
Maybe get fired. So I develop a little bit of hardening around my heart. And that happens again and again and again and again. Trauma, right?
Yep.
So to reverse that, back to the, you know, avatar, level one, the observer, level 2. It's like, hey, like that's not real. Like, how are you going to
Right.
feel into that heart
Mm-hmm,
space?
mm-hmm.
What do you got to do to make space for the light, literally the higher self, the level 3, to come in?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we don't have to change anything. It's just like, we just need to
Right.
be who we are. Like, that's
Right.
who we are naturally, is an aspect of Mama Gaia, Mother
Right.
Earth, right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel it because like we place and it's social, educational, religious conditioning on ourselves. So it's like from a higher perspective, it's like a game
Yes.
where we delete our memories of who we really are. Then we place all these obstacles in front of us to move through and remove so that we can remember that divinity that we are within.
Yes.
And when we realize that we've chosen everything in our lives for our own experience to heal within,
Mm.
it shifts everything because there's no
Mm.
victimhood anymore.
No, that's a key piece. Like,
Yeah.
we absolutely need to step out of victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on a micro and a macro level. And feminism has
Yeah.
been based in victimhood because that was the level of consciousness that was available then. And today
Mm-hmm.
we have a whole new level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, we see, the observer sees, like, wow, that's not even real. Like, who do I want to be? What am I
Mm-hmm.
fighting for?
Right.
What do I stand for? Versus continuing to fight against a level of consciousness that isn't even real,
Right.
not even who we are. It's just
Right.
distortions in the
Right.
phenomenal world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like a distortion. It's
Mm.
like a disease, right? Like,
Yeah,
or
it is.
a sleep state. Like,
Yeah.
most people are walking around in various sleep states.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah.
And everything that is in our world helps to facilitate a continuance of that sleep state. Our phones, the 5G, the chemtrails, the food poisoning,
Mm.
the forever chemicals in our toilet paper. Like, I mean, the list goes on and on and
Yeah.
on. And it's
Yeah.
all designed to keep us from waking up.
Mm.
And so, and yet, even with all of that, we have the power to change the frequency.
Yes. Yes. And I believe Mother Gaia is working with us, because I mean, we're having all these solar flares, and
Yeah.
they say the Schlumberger resonance is increasing, the frequencies, increasing, the lights coming in. So
Mm-hmm.
this is my tradition, which is Shaktism. So I'm not saying feminism, because that indeed is also a response to the masculine. This is
Right.
Shaktism, modern Shaktism. It's
Mm.
the notion that there is a feminine divine, right? And she's permeating everything. She's Mother Earth. She's creation itself.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really important to honor, regard, respect, and protect her
Mm-hmm.
and her divine representatives, the priestesses, the mothers, the grandmothers, the aunties, the sisters, the
Mm-hmm.
girls, the women of this world as
Yeah.
aspects of her. And
Mm-hmm.
what do we do when we uplift the feminine to partner with the masculine? Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. We can
Yeah.
solve all these issues,
Mm-hmm.
and we've proven that. Like,
Right.
the most happy countries are Scandinavian countries that treat women well, and
Mm.
the ones that don't are at war, basically.
Right.
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 We've proven again and again. I call it a first principle. It's called first principle. Basic stuff. Honor,
Mm-hmm.
regard, respect, protect the feminine of your species.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're doing that. So we're doing it. And
Right.
we're whoever's ready, let's go. I believe that we can have a resourced, empowered, fun feminist movement, like a festival. Like, let's dance, maybe take
Mm-hmm.
some plant medicine. Hey, the men are invited if they're respectful and they're feminists and they hold
Mm-hmm.
space for us. Like, let's
Yeah.
like Bhakti or Shakti Fest. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's do that. Let's make feminism fun. I'm not going to hold. Last time I spoke at a rally, feminist rally, I spoke after our congressman, and we were talking about my state, Washington State, being a sanctuary state where women could actually get reproductive health care.
Mm.
He got up and he said some things. It was more self-congratulatory. He's like, I voted for the ERA too, because I was going to talk about ERA. I voted for it. And then he said something that was not accurate. So
Okay.
I got up, I was dressed as the Statue of Liberty. But in that moment, in that experience, I realized that that was completely victim. And I didn't even want to participate in that anymore. Because, you know, even though all of this was true, we're still telling the same old story of abuse, control, which cannot be denied. Like it happened. It's happening.
Yeah.
But like we can change it like that, you know, and we just need to, you know, believe, you know, and change our anger. Literally, this is alchemy, changing our anger into self-love.
Yep.
First.
Yep.
And then go from there. Because the avatar has to love herself.
Yeah.
And then observe herself, and then she creates her own game.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah, like
light in, come at the top of her head.
Well, when I had this most recent experience, and I saw this aspect of myself as a behavioral pattern, and I was like, oh, honey, hi, how are you, wounded self? Oh my gosh, Karen, I love you. Let me love you. You're fine. You're safe. And there was no judgment. There was no condemnation. There was no like separate from. It was like, oh, this is a pattern I've used because like I get overwhelmed very easily because I'm sensitive and I try to push things away, and I come up with like, instead of saying this isn't aligned for me, I find something to project my this isn't aligned for me onto as a cushion between me and me speaking my truth. And I was like, wow, I'm so excited I got to see that.
Yeah. And that fighting against, that's actually a immature masculine bully consciousness construct. Like I am going to fight against that which I do not believe in, etc. Whatever, versus I'm just going to stand in what I believe in, and you know, everybody else can do what they want to do. That's whatever. It's not my business. Right. And to, you know, and then Sophia, the other part of it I love is like, you're actually mothering yourself. Like you're mothering, you're loving yourself. You're giving yourself something that our society did not give us, like that we can actually provide future generations. And the other piece of that is we have not had the divine masculine, which the essence of the divine masculine is to hold safe space. That's consciousness, holding safe space for women and children. We have not had that. Like, what would it be like if the divine masculine shows up, right? Like in us, right? So that's what you're doing. You're like, hey, you know, 7-year-old Sophia, like, I love you. Like, you're perfect. You're perfect. You already are it, you know? And you know, I think this is important to communicate with our children. There's like a whole energetic universe. It's not just about the physical, you know, like there's an energy going on here.
This
there's
is
a consciousness going on. You can feel it. It's thick. Right? Like things are changing and they're moving fast. We absolutely need to raise our consciousness at the same time, you know? And it's, I think it's happening. I'm optimistic about it.
I'm feeling it. No, I'm feeling shifts. I follow a reader, and she's like, oh, by March next year, we're living in a different, I think it's going to be sooner than that, but we're definitely going to be in unity consciousness by March.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's different levels of it, you know. The way that I experience that is it's a choice. There's some people that are like, love light. Yes, cooperation. Together, we can raise our level of consciousness to lead with compassion, wisdom, and most of all, love. And there's some beings that just aren't there. And that's unfortunately going to be cast off. Or I shouldn't say unfortunately. That energy will be used for something else. You know? And that energy also, that thing we don't want, or, you know, say for instance, there may be a presidential candidate that triggers us or whatever, like, oh my God, right? Triggers us. But that actually can be fuel for, say for instance, a resource feminist movement, or for us to be who we're meant to be, versus hating on that, continuing to crustify our heart.
And the other part too is like, whichever candidate it is, if you have a visceral response to it,
Mm-hmm.
that's for you. Because that candidate isn't doing anything to you other than showing you a trigger that you had from a previous lifetime, from this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
from a traumatic experience that you didn't even know you had until you saw a candidate trigger you.
Oh yeah, and that candidate, he who shall not be named,
Or she.
or she, or whoever, right? We won't not name it. It could be anyone.
We're not gonna name anyone.
I love it. Our triggers are our
Yeah,
treasures because they
right.
show us where we are not free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel that since there is one that is more intentionally being polarized by the media, um, that dynamism, that speaking with such power that feels like a bully,
Mhm.
there's an aspect of speaking truth with that frequency
Yes.
that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's the trigger. Because if
Yeah.
we stood
Well,
in our power like that and said, no, this is not right, this is da 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 da, but saying it as the observer without getting involved in the emotions like
yeah,
that,
that's actually a huge lesson, right?
yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think of it as like divine will. Like, okay, I have a desire. I have a desire to do something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, whatever that is. I have a desire to see a resource feminist movement. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to gain strength. I need to, we need to gain allies. Call it
Yeah.
Shakti tribe. Shakti
Yeah.
tribe. That's going to give us strength, cooperation, the masculine. Please, we need you.
Yeah.
We develop confidence. So there's that confidence of like, I'm just going to tell you whatever I want to get my way, ha ha ha, right?
Right. That's
Versus
different.
divine confidence. I'm actually aligned with my higher self,
Mm-hmm.
and the avatar is an impulse of that.
Right.
And then I can live my purpose. Like, what it's like, that's the other thing. It's like each and every one of us, we're living at this time of this great shift in consciousness. Like, we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is that? It's time to shine that light, baby. That's why we're here, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Oh,
Um,
it's huge because
yeah.
like we've been so conditioned to play small,
Yes.
and yet like I'm being gifted this opportunity to help two kitties from Hurricane Helene today.
Mm,
I am so grateful that I have the skill sets to be able to do that.
mm, yes.
I'm not hiding from it. I'm not saying, oh no, I can't do that. That's like scary. It's like, oh my gosh, how many animals can I assist?
Yes.
Because that's my calling, is to help the animals.
Yeah.
And like, how can I almost like, I don't want to say toss because we always have an ego, but like definitely get out of the head brain into the heart brain
Mm,
to serve.
yes. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude and being
Hmm.
of service.
Yeah.
It's not about the ego at all.
Mm-mm.
It's
Mm-mm.
like you have an impulse. You love animals. You
Yeah.
care about them. You want to send your resources and do everything you can to serve them and to protect them and to help them.
Hmm.
That's your divine. That's that whole divine will, divine strength, divine confidence, divine purpose.
Yeah.
Like you can actually save some animals that may not make it if
Yeah.
had not intervened. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's in a way, it's like if we turn misogyny inside out, that's what it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or limited levels of consciousness, like what is that? What does that look like? Like we get to figure that out. That's cool. And then we have
Yeah.
all this technology coming in that's
Hmm.
gonna deal with things like climate change or uh, making us a lot more productive
Hmm.
and sharing the resources. That's the way it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, sorry, you're an animal, you have to die in this hurricane. It's like we have technology, we have resources
Right.
that can benefit all of Mother Gaia's creatures.
Yeah.
It's not just us humans being sort of like we have dominion over everybody else, all the other
Yeah,
creatures.
that's just a lie.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
another lie, right? Like,
there's no
and then they don't have,
dominion.
it's like, who doesn't have a voice? Like,
Like, okay,
we
here's
need
an
to speak for
example.
them.
So trees, we cannot exist without trees.
No,
We can't. Or bees. Like those are my two, like ever since I was little, those are my two favorite
totally.
causes, bees and trees. Trees are sentient.
Mm.
Trees talk.
I think they're
Trees
5D. They're
love.
5D beings. Yeah.
They love when we look at them and we talk to
Mm.
them and we
Oh
hug
my God.
them and we do a wolf's breath with them. They love it.
Yes, they
Love
do.
it.
And I love it
And
too.
they're entreating us
Yeah.
to start doing that more and more because they know what's going to be happening with us. And the more we connect with the non-human beings on this
Mm.
planet,
Mm.
the less crazy it's going to be.
Yes. And I think that like when we're releasing our trauma, I teach Tantra. So
Mm.
like one of the best things, a lot of women are like, hey, I can't really, I don't have a partner or whatever it may be. Go and connect with the tree, breathe with the tree, do the like spinal breathing or the central channel breathing with the tree. And that is really amazing. And it will lift
Yeah.
you right out of, if you're in a funky, special moment, it'll lift you right out of that. Like that tree will lift you. I have a special tree. His name's Ben. He's about half a mile from here. And I go visit him. He's very special. He loves me and I love him, And I don't have to like, say the right thing, do the right thing. I don't have to placate his ego.
Right.
Just like, hey, Ben, what up? And I go sit down and I breathe. And he breathes with me.
I love that.
Beautiful. I of course ask permission and all that.
Oh yeah. There's a tree up on Snoqualmie Pass in Washington at Snow Lake. And I haven't seen her in a while because I haven't been to Snow Lake in a few years, but you'd sign in with Forest Service and then like she's right there. And three people can't hug her. She's that big.
Oh my goodness.
She is so divine. And I remember when I left Washington to go back to Connecticut after my mom died, I drove up to Alpentine and Snow Lake and I walked up and I just hugged her. I said, I don't know the next time I'm going to see you again, but I love you so much and I'm so grateful for your friendship.
Beautiful.
And then when I was able to see her again, I was like crying. I was like, I didn't know if I was going to see you again because like it was that important. And there's no human communication. It's the energy.
It's like your grandmother. She's like your grandmother.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Family. It's just family. And I have another grandmother up in Portland. She's a grandmother Cedar and she's a dear friend. Every time I go to Portland, I go say hi to her because she's a friend. She's family.
Yeah.
And when we release the illusion that we're somehow different than the world becomes so much more alive. We become so much more alive.
Yeah, we're one.
Yeah.
We're one with the trees. We're one with Mother Earth. We're one with the animals in Florida. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. The illusion is that we're separate in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Me too. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
How do people find you?
Well, I am at staciweller.org. That's STACIWELLER.org. And I am actually open to allies that support a resourced, powerful, positive feminist movement. I have a yogini take on that. We're using yoga philosophy or non-dual. This is a sand tradition, science and non-duality, to uplift the feminine within everyone and acknowledge the feminine in everyone, because we believe that women and girls are here to lead with compassion, wisdom, and most of all, love, partnering with the masculine. The divine feminine and the divine masculine are partnering to move into a whole new world based in peace. Yeah. And that was the vision for my great teachers, the masters of Tibetan Buddhism and the Vedic tradition, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and His Holiness Sturgeon Rinpoche.
Thank you.
So it's very powerful. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. So grateful to know that you're on the planet with me at this time in consciousness.
Yeah. We're very lucky, aren't we? We're very fortunate to live during this time.
We are indeed.
Thank you so much, beautiful Sophia.
Thank you so much, beautiful Staci.